Alright, welcome back to another Python tutorial, and today we are going to be talking about some basic operations that you can use in Python, as well as your ability to read user input. So, just as a review from last time, we talked about the idea of variables and data types. So the four main data types that we talked about were string, which is anything encapsulated by quotation marks, or a series of characters encapsulated by quotation marks, an int value, which are whole numbers and their opposites, float, which are decimals. We also talked about the data type none, which means non-existent, and a boolean, which is true or false. We also mentioned that these data types can be contained by variables. So you can have name is equal to Anthony. And name here is a container for the computer memory, or a name inside of this program for this data. So it's like contains this and remembers this. This can vary in value, and it behaves as the data it contains. And we'll talk more about what that specifically means later. But for now, we're just going to look at, first off, how to receive user input. So to receive user input, you're going to create a variable. The variable, again, can be named whatever you want. It just can't start with a number. So inputs 1. And just to receive user input, you're just going to type in inputs and put 2 parentheses here. Now, whatever you type in here in this line of the program will essentially receive input from the user. So let's look at an example. Let's say I go ahead and I print here, hello world, space world, just like so. And then it's going to ask for an input here, and I can say, how's your day? How is your day going? Oops, sorry, I can't type. And then put that there. So hello world, how is your day going? We'll just do that. Okay, and you'll type this in, and when I print the variable here, input 1, it's going to go ahead and return. So I can say like print, is this what you said? Question mark. Alright, so let's go ahead and run it. Here's my console window right over here. So hello world, how is your day going? It's, oh, give me a second, it's downloading files over here. Come on, buddy. It is, so let's run that again. Hello world, it's going great. Enter. Is this what you said? It's going great. So as you can see, this is how you can take user inputs and input it into your program. This will be an incredibly important concept later on. Okay, now the next thing is we want to talk about some fundamental operations in Python, and for right now we're only really going to look at the 4 math operations most commonly used, and that is addition. Let's start with addition. Next one will be subtraction, multiplication, and division. These are the 4 operators here for these. Okay, so if I wanted to add together 7 and 9, I would do it just like that. So I said print 7 plus 9. Go ahead and run this. 16. It's a good example. You can also do this with all the other math operations that you're aware of. Right? And as you can see, you can do that with everything, and it will print just like so. You can also do that with variables that contain that specific data. So let's say I have a number 1 and a number 2, where this is 2 and 10. I can print num1 plus num2, and I will get 12 here, as you can see. Right, so this is a good example of how you can take variables and use methods or operations to manipulate their values, right, or add them together or do various things, right? Now, as we talked about before, variables can change in value. For example, if I print num1 right now, it's going to print 2. But then, if I do num1 is now equal to num1 plus num2, and I go ahead and print num1, num1's value has changed, right? So here we'll get something. So we'll print this, say this is first 1, and then we'll say this is 2. And this is a super important concept to understand. This is the idea that variables will always vary in value. Later we'll talk about what it means that they behave as the data they contain, right? But this is a nice little good example here. When I click run, here's the first value that was stored here, and then the second value that was stored here. Now there are some other operations that you can do that are math operations, and we'll talk about that later in the series. But here's just a good example of how you can take in user inputs and use variables. You can use some math operations to manipulate those variables' values as it varies in the program. Cool. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one.